Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is one of these longer form videos that I urge people just to have on in the background. If you're going for a walk or a run and you want to have it through your headphones, if you're at the gym and want to have a listen to it, if you want to go for a drive and put it on the stereo in the car, if you've got some housework to do and you just want to leave it on the background on the TV, this is one of those videos that you can do that with. You don't need to have it on. There's not any exciting or interesting graphics up on the screen. This is just one of those listen videos. I caught up with It Was Never a Phase cards and we discussed all things Pokemon card and all things Pokemon card investing. The video goes for about an hour, so tune in and enjoy. Before we jump straight into it though, I just wanted to give a shout out to today's video sponsor, which is Notify. This is a great Discord. I'll leave the link in the description for it. We all know how difficult it is to get product at the moment. It's incredibly difficult. This Discord will give you the latest drops no matter what your region is. So if you're in Australia, New Zealand, Europe, UK, Canada, United States, no matter where you are, there's going to be like-minded people and community members dropping information around hits that come out. So like I said, we all know how hard it is to get product. This is going to be a great opportunity to be able to pick some stuff up online or in your local area. Again, a link in the description, Pokeos_25 for 25% off your first month on Notify. Let's jump into the video.
Welcome back to It Was Never a Phase Cards. My name is TJ, and I am joined by a very special guest here today. From the other side of the world, we have Michael from Pokéoz, who was kind enough to jump on here for a little. We're going to do a little Q&A, a little market talk, a little interview, a little bit of everything. Dive into some stuff, just get to nerd out with another enthusiast, another investor. Kind of the first time we've done this on the channel. It's usually just me solo. So we're going to dive straight into it. Just a few questions, just so we can get, I'm sure most of my viewers have probably come across the Pokéoz channel, but if you haven't, maybe we can get to know Michael just a little bit more here on the channel. Starting off with some easy ones. When did you first get into Pokemon, and kind of how did that whole thing play out?
Ooh, very, very long story, but we'll try and condense it into about a 2-minute answer, I think. So, of course, probably like most people, if you didn't know my age, I'm 34. So, original base set, first edition, we all cracked those open. I remember it was such a phenomenon. Obviously, the TV show, the movie came out, and then, of course, the trading cards, and down to the local card store, or Kmart here in Australia, as we called it, or Target, to pick up some cards and continued on through, Jungle, Fossil, Team Rocket, Gym Heroes, Neo. And then by that stage, I think I was probably like probably 13 or 14 when like E-Series started coming out, and it was not as cool in grade 7 to like high school to collect Pokemon cards anymore. So I think that's probably why it was such a low printed era. Most people that were in the hobby, the kids that watched the movie my age, probably exited for a little bit. So exited for a little bit there, regained the passion during EX. There was heaps of EX era stuff, like stock still on the shelves when I was about 17. So 17, 18, started selling around probably 18, 19, lots of EX era stock. And it's the same thing, in case obviously you weren't around the hobby back then, like there was still Holland Phantoms sitting on the shelves at like retail price 2-3 years after the set was released. Like, it was a pretty dead era for Pokemon, but we all know how special those cards are now. And then continued, and then took another little bit of a break, rejoined during XY, the Pokemon Go phase, of course. Was never a huge fan of XY, and I know that might upset some people, but I feel like I just got back into it because of Pokemon Go. Still not a huge fan of the artwork, but some of those XY era cards are going absolute gangbusters, and the booster boxes are probably starting to get, the rarity. Some of the early ones, Ancient Origins, etc., getting the rarity and price they deserve. And then after opening copious amounts of Pokemon cards, booster boxes, buying cases when I was 18, 19, ripping, selling, I thought it was finally time to collect sealed and keep a lot of it, or as much as I possibly could, sealed. And like most people, it was probably around that late 2019, early 2020 phase is when I started keeping it sealed. So it might be behind me here. I think I've got the earliest set, Burning Shadows, I think is there, and there's a few other Sun and Moon sealed boxes there. Cosmic Eclipse, Unified Minds, Unbroken Bonds. Of course, no team up. Such a shame.
Right.
Ever since then, the journey continued with, of course, starting the channel about, would have been about nearly 2 years ago now. I think April. So in 2 months' time, it's been 2 years that the channel's been up and going.
Nice. Well, perfect. Yeah, and congratulations too on your success of your channel and everything too. Obviously, seems like that kind of actually tailors into my next question. I was going to ask, what led you to investing, but you kind of tailored the whole thing right into it. I would say, to carry off of that, you got into like why a little bit, but why do you invest? What it seems like you led towards the sealed collecting and now the sealed investing, but why go to the sealed investing? Like for me, I wanted vintage slabs. I want that Shining Gyarados first edition PSA 10, which obviously I cannot afford. All the Grail chase cards that I can't afford, and I was losing, thousands of dollars ripping packs. I realized quickly it's a lot easier just to hold on to some of these boxes, and then maybe down the road I can finally get, some of those cards that I want. That's what I invest to collect is my goal. It's not to like retire off of or to make a ton of money off of, and I do enjoy it. But so going back to you, why the investing, or is it just collecting sealed that led to investing, or?
Pretty much. But like late 2019, it still wasn't a massive thing, Pokemon card investing, like late 2019. Like you Googled it. Like if you just Googled Pokemon card investing late 2019, you were lucky to find like any information. Like it was still, there might have been a couple of YouTube videos talking about investing in trading cards, and there might be Pokemon thrown into the mix. Whereas now you Google Pokemon card investing and you get everything. There's obviously Reddit forums. There's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTube content creators now, and it seems new ones are popping up. And YouTube algorithm is, drip feeds them into our, homepage. You'll see, new content creators on there. But going back to 2019, there was like next to nothing, and I wanted, essentially, it started as sealed collecting. You're right. Like I bought that Burning Shadows booster box, was probably the first box I got, and I bought some Hidden Fates Elite trainer boxes, and then I got into, of course, the Unified Minds and Unbroken Bonds and Cosmic Eclipse, and I just thought, you know what, this is cool to keep sealed. And prior to that, you can probably see them over my right shoulder. There's some Score DBZ boxes up there, and I used to try and aim to keep those sealed. I wish I kept more of them sealed. The Cell Saga ones up there, they're from 2002, so
oh, that's very
they're
cool.
very, very old. Yeah, I used to aim to keep those sealed, but never could. Like I just got the itch to open them. So I was like, nah, I'm done. Like you said, you end up opening so many packs and getting burnt one too many times. It's almost like the gamble. You just go, right, I'm just going to buy the cards I want now. And I want to keep a booster box of every set sealed. And then it almost become like a little bit mainstream. 2020 hit, and of course, the world went into lockdown. There was all the content creators like Logan Paul, of course, doing the first edition base set box opening, and everything just went ballistic in price. Like not only cars, houses, but trading cards in particular. Like it went bonkers. Like first edition base set booster boxes selling for unheard of amounts, and every booster box, EX era booster boxes that I used to buy cases of for $1,000 Australian dollars, which is like $600 US, let alone a case, an individual booster box of like EX Power Keepers or Holland Phantoms or Dragon Frontiers. Oh, like they just went to the absolute moon as well. $20,000, $30,000 US a box. And that's when I just decided, hold on, like maybe there's a little bit of method to the madness here. And I started with Sword and Shield base in terms of like actual cases of booster boxes. And I thought, I'm just, pretty much if it's a lackluster set, I was going to buy a couple of booster boxes. And if I thought it was a good set, as in it had good chase cards and maybe good potential to go up in value in the future, that's when I was buying a case or two of the booster boxes. So that's essentially where it started, getting burnt one too many times and deciding to what started as a sealed collection, and that's what's behind me. Like, and you've got it behind you as well. It's something to be proud of, and I keep working on it and getting more boxes. And as each new set comes out, there's a new one that goes on display there. Like, I'm just as much a sealed collector as I am an investor.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's plenty of. There's still a few cases of booster boxes tucked away. I'm certainly not as big as some of the others in the world, though, like
Yeah.
the Rudies of the world.
Oh man, yeah. Nobody could compare to Rudy. What a goat he is. I was kind of a little bit different with my sealed approach because just not that I didn't appreciate the boxes, but these were just investments, right? And I only cared about the slabs or the singles. And then once I started having these for a while, and I was like, well, actually, they're kind of cool. And so it kind of, I was not a sealed collector, and now it's kind of like, okay, well, if I'm gonna sell some, I'm definitely keeping some like forever in my collection, kind of thing. So that's something that's creeped in for me. Do you collect any singles at all, or is it like what ratio? Are you like 20% singles,
Um,
80% sealed?
I think that's probably where we differ. I can tell you're a massive slabs collector, and yeah, you mentioned the Shining Gyarados. That is one of the nicest Pokemon cards ever made. That's a huge grail. Like that card in a PSA First Edition 10.
Yeah, yeah. It's a,
But no, I've got a fair few Watsy Hollows in a folder, and part of my display here again, it's over the right shoulder. These are ones I pulled when I was a kid, so they're just base set first edition. So I got the Venusaur, the Blastoise, sorry, unlimited edition, not first edition. And then I never pulled the Charizard as a kid, but I did pull the Team Rocket Charizard. So the three original starters are up here. It might be a bit hard to see for people watching, but they're there. But no, like I don't. I occasionally treat myself to a card that I want because I enjoy the artwork. And a friend of mine, very good friend, in fact, one of my best mate. We rip cards just for the fun of it. Like I don't really film it or put it on the channel, but we ripped a fair bit of Crown Zenith the other night and pulled the Gold Giratina,
oh,
which got us
nice.
up and about.
Yeah, no, that's a great pull right there, for sure.
To answer your question, percentage wise, nah, like it would be 95-5.
Okay.
I appreciate the singles. I like the artwork. I'll buy the odd card that I like. Other than that, it's just all sealed.
Interesting. Okay.
Whereas
No,
I reckon you're nearly a bit the other way.
no, I know this is a bit deceiving. It might be a little bit deceiving. I'm probably, honestly, it's probably 70% sealed, 30% singles. I don't do a lot of
Yep.
like, it's not single investing, or I like to grade cards though too. And I've sold on eBay, selling some PSA 10s, making some profits and stuff. But most of if I'm buying a PSA 10, it's just to stay in my collection. But most of what I have is sealed, like because I want that Shining Gyarados in a 10, and I think the last sold, the first edition was like 11 grand, and I want to have that someday. So that's where I've been putting my focus in, and eventually maybe that might shift a little bit, and I'll end up having more into singles. But right now it's actually mostly into sealed, believe it or not. So yeah.
That's the hardest part with singles, though, because I don't know about you, and I don't know about the viewers watching, but I get very attached to singles.
Mm,
Like, obviously, there's some childhood memories attached to these three up here, but if I'd bought, say, in 2019, say I'd bought because Gyarados is one of my favorite Pokemon as well. So I'd bought a Gold Star Gyarados, the fire type,
mm-hmm.
and I don't know, PSA 10. Say we bought it for $4,000 in 2019, and now it's like a $15,000 card or a $9,000 card. I haven't checked what it last sold for, but even though you might have doubled or tripled your money, I would find it so hard to realize those profits because I just wouldn't want to let that card go. I'd become too attached to it. Like you're one of the only. I don't even know how many copies there are of that card. Maybe like 110 or something. But you'd be like one of 100 people in the world that have that card. It would be so hard to let it go.
Yeah. No, for real. Um, yeah. So you bring up your cards just real quick, just to touch on it's kind of a little bit of a downer. You got some of your childhood cards. I was in a situation where at my school, let's put it this way, Pokemon was viewed so negatively that I was forced
Okay.
to give away my cards. So I have none of my childhood cards, zero.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I'm trying to I'm making up for lost time here. Is yeah, so that's an absolute gut wrencher. But I'm, for me, happy to hear that other people do have at least some of their childhood cards and some of those hollows and everything that um, makes my inner child a little bit happy to even just hear that from others. So that's nice.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. So you said Gyarados, one of your favorite Pokemon, is who would be your favorite? And then do you have a favorite set? Or maybe do you have a favorite modern set, favorite vintage set?
Yeah. Oh, good questions. You're bringing out all the good questions today. Yeah. I'm gonna start like got to be a typical boy. Like it's all the dragon Pokemon that are my favorite. Dragonite's a massive favorite. Remember that episode? What was it called? Like something Secret Lighthouse or something. Like
Yes.
episode 10 of season 1,
Uh
and the
huh.
Dragonite's sneaking out of the ocean.
Uh huh.
Yeah, Dragonite. Rayquaza would be well and truly up there.
Okay.
And then Gyarados, of course. Charizard, the OG. What about you? You
Um,
got a favorite?
Gyarados would definitely be my number one for sure. Definitely similarities. Dragonite's up there. Charizard's up there. For Bulbasaur and Venusaur, that evolution line shares a soft spot for me because that was the first Pokemon I picked, the first playthrough on my Pokemon Blue. I actually picked Bulbasaur. Not my favorite, but soft spot for Bulbasaur, always.
It's going to be an absolute crime if we don't see a special illustration rare Charizard, a special illustration rare Gyarados through Scarlet and Violet. Like, there's Team Rocket's got to come through with a Dark Gyarados, don't they? Like, come on.
Yeah, have you seen jumping ahead, it's from the well, they're not calling it Team Rocket. Have you heard that? It's not a Team Rocket set.
Yeah, I know.
They're
Because it's
combining
an
it.
amalgamation of three sets, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, three Japanese.
But from the Heatwave Arena, which is the Japanese one, we're getting a Misty's Gyarados. So in
Oh, yeah.
theory, we should see an SIR from that. Hopefully. Yeah, I actually just picked up a Misty's Gyarados first edition in a PSA 9. But yeah, I picked up one of those recently. It's on its way to me. So yeah, happy to have that card when it gets in hand. So that was a little bit of a speculative play. I didn't want the card to run up too much if the new cards come out. But I don't think it'll affect the vintage price too much. But with the market being so crazy, I was like, okay, it's a good excuse as a Gyarados lover
Yeah,
to pick up a nice vintage card. So,
exactly.
what about favorite set?
Ooh, favorite set. Favorite favorite modern set. So, what are we calling modern? Probably Sun and Moon onwards, I think,
Ah,
would we call modern? Like,
yeah,
X, XY might now be getting to that age
yeah.
where it's,
Depends where you want to cut it,
you know,
draw the line.
I mean, some of those boxes are 10 years old now, so I wouldn't really call that super modern. So, yeah, maybe Sun and Moon onwards. Uh, Probably Cosmic Eclipse. I love that set. And, it was the first introduction of the trainer gallery, the Reds Pikachu there. You've got awesome cards. Dialga, Palkia, I think Cosmic Eclipse would be one of my favourite modern sets.
Okay.
But I do love some of the depth of the illustration rares we're seeing in some of these Scarlet and Violet sets. Like, how good's Paldea Evolved? I know it doesn't have massive heavy hitters. Like, obviously that Magikarp's a pretty strong card, but if you just go through like all the illustration rares and actually pay attention to them, there's like some phenomenal artwork in that set. And
Yeah.
what about you? What's your favorite modern set?
Um, you know, I I want to say 151 for nostalgia, but it might be Crown Zenith if I'm being completely honest. That set, I mean, if you put that in a booster, if that was a booster box set,
That'd be insane.
That could have been argued as like, I still think it could be argued as one of the greatest sets ever. But you know, like you,
So fun to open too.
oh, definitely one of the best sets, one of the best modern sets to open, hands down. And I would say, piggybacking off of the SV era, what you were saying about the illustration rares, you know, it's kind of a sleeper set. It's not my favorite, but I like Paradox Rift a lot. I think that's deep with illustration rares as well. Not always the most
Mm.
popular Pokemon, but some really great art. I like Paradox as well.
Steelix, yeah, Steelix
Oh
kills it in
yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and you realize that, like, when you're opening, because when my mate and I did the Crown Zenith opening, we also opened some Paladin Fates, and then we opened some Fusion Strike and like some Chilling Rain, and it's just like you can open 20 packs of Fusion Strike, 20 packs of Chilling Rain, and get a couple of these, and that's it. Whereas if you open 20 packs of Crown Zenith and 20 packs of Paladin Fates, it's so much more fun to open. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's all in on Fusion Strike or Chilling Rain. You could get lucky and pull an alt art that's worth heaps of money, but you could also get lucky, well, like we did, and pull the gold Giratina, which is still worth pretty good money. But yeah, you just, I don't know, mate. Like, I don't think the investing side of it really cares about that. Like, you look at Evolving Skies, we all know how I watched someone open an Evolving, like, it was literally 2 days ago on YouTube, someone opened an Evolving Skies booster box. They got like 4 Vs out of the whole box, and like two of them were Garbodor Vs.
Uh, man, it's
I
just
was just
not. It's
like,
not worth it.
man. I was like, that is so rough. Whereas you open, like you said, if Crown Zenith was a booster box set, you open 36 packs of that, and at least you're getting some fun, like some enjoyment out of it. Like you feel like you're getting some money's worth. Whereas, yeah, look, it's an interesting one because I don't know if the investing and the price, people don't really seem to care that much about, you know, what the average return per pack is, so to speak.
Yeah,
But yeah, interesting one, isn't it?
it is. Moving on, we'll get a little bit more to like current, a little more current topics, and I think it's interesting to see if there's any difference between like the U.S. market and the Australian market. I kind of wanted to ask, what was your Prismatic Evolutions launch like? Like, how was that over there? I'm assuming, just a guess, it's gonna be essentially the same. Really rough. Can't really get anything. Um, I mean, were you? I think I see a prismatic ETB behind you, so you were able to get something.
Yeah.
So that worked out. But
Yeah,
how bad was it really?
not good. Like, I couldn't secure a case. Like, I wanted a case, so I wanted 10 Elite Trainer boxes, but couldn't get one. I was lucky. I pre-ordered 6 through EB Games down here, which is probably Australia's biggest. But then they shot an email out like maybe late December, early January, stating that if you hadn't pre-ordered prior to November 6, 2024, you won't receive your Elite Trainer boxes until June.
Oh wow.
So I was lucky. I pre-ordered them like November 2nd, so I got all of mine straight up, and they weren't a bad price. It was still EB Games is a little bit expensive. Like, maybe, you know, they're $10. I paid 98 Australian, which is probably like 60 to 65 US off
Okay.
EB Games, and then I got the rest of my case through a local gaming store. They run a fair few Pokemon tournaments there, and the owner of that store's a bit of a legend, and uh, got them off him for 90 Australian dollars Elite Trainer box, which is probably high 50s or 60, yeah, high 50s to 60 US dollars. So I was lucky. Like, I ended up getting a case essentially, so 10 Elite Trainer boxes, but I couldn't pre-order like a sealed case of them. I had to shop around essentially to find them. And even he said, he's like, that is the first time ever that they had like 30 people. The morning that Prismatic came out, they had like 30 people lined up at the door of his gaming shop. And he's like, I've never seen it before. During COVID, Surging Sparks, no. Nothing else throughout Scarlet and Violet. Crown Zenith, no. But Prismatic, yeah. Everyone was lined up like crazy, he said, at the store. So, uh, yeah, like I was lucky. Funny, you know, I don't know. You might get those comments at the bottom of your channel sometimes. We seem to always cop some haters, don't
Mm.
we?
Mm-hmm.
hoarding products. How dare you? How dare you keep them off others? How dare you keep them sealed? I had some guy saying he knows everyone I buy off, and I've bought, hundreds of Elite Trainer boxes of Prismatic, and I'm hoarding too much of it. And well, there you go. I got 10. I had to get six off one place, and 4 off another. That's it. And now it's just impossible to get them. So even if I wanted another 10, for argument's sake, I'd have to pay. Well, you know what it's like. It's exorbitant prices at the moment to get them. How about? I know it was the same for you guys, wasn't it? It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I was able to get some for pre-orders. Once again, not a full case either. Some from GameStop, at Target. Like, I have small amount. I had to go on launch day. I have like the tiniest LGS ever. It's this little hole in the wall, and I waited outside a few hours before they opened. They had 4 ETBs. That's all they had. 4. So I was able to get an ETB there and like a binder thing, and nothing crazy. Obviously, I did have 2 buddies who got a sealed case from GameStop of ETBs. They pre-ordered well in advance. I just didn't. I pre-ordered in advance enough, but I just didn't pre-order enough quantity. I would have been okay, but I waited just a little too long. But even going down to like the local, my Target and Walmart, trying to stock, they have like a third-party vendor who stocks. It's not the actual store. And on release day, it was actually the day before, I caught the lady stocking. Like, I timed it just right. I was the first person there. And they had like ropes set up, blocking everybody off. And I asked, and I said, "You got the new Pokemon?" And the lady said, "Sorry, we already sold it. It's all gone. You're late." And I was devastated, and I left. And then my buddy texted me like 40 minutes later, and he was like, They got it at Target. We got some." And so she had, I guess the company policy is to lie. And so, and I believed her. So, just to stop from people like, I guess, forming a line and potentially fighting over product, right? I get it. So I missed a few local drops. And then the other time, similar thing, I was there when they were restocking, but there just wasn't enough to get to me, like 8th in line.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been really trying between online and physical, like, but it's just been so brutal to get any product.
What about Journey Together? Because the same, it's just, I can't pre-order it anywhere online in Australia. And even EB Games, you have to be like I think EB Games in Australia is like your GameStop in the US, I'm pretty sure. And EB Games, you had to be, because I went in to pre-order some, and they said you've got to be a premium member to be able to even have the opportunity to pre-order some Journey Together.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
I was like, that's crazy. And then I went into the other LGS. They really prioritise, which is fine, because it's the same thing. It's one of those little hole in the wall LGSs, and it's got probably 10 tables set up, but it's mainly for people to play Magic the Gathering and Pokemon on, and a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh and whatnot. But I went back into them and said, "Hey, look, I'd love to grab a case of Journey Together," and he said same thing. Like, he goes, I've asked for, and hopefully I'll get 240 booster boxes, so 40 cases. But they really prioritise their player base first, which is fair enough, because they sponsor a few players that go to the Australian Championships and whatnot. So that's fair enough. Like, I've only just started to form a bit of a relationship there, so hopefully we can foster it a little bit more, and then I might have a bit more priority there. But he's put my name down anyway for a case. He said, I'll aim to grab you a case of Journey Together, and that case works out to be about 1,260 to be exact, Australian, which is probably $850 US, maybe.
Okay.
For the case.
That's okay. $850. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's not bad. So Journey Together, at least on the Pokemon Center side, they did, and I'm West Coast too. So when they dropped these Pokemon Center pre-orders, it was at like 5 a.m. my time. And so by the time I was actually up, it was all gone.
Yeah.
So I missed all the Pokemon Center. I was able to get just one case, a booster box case, from an online retailer. It was at MSRP. which is 161 a box, which is fine. At least I was able to get something of Journey Together. It's not it's not my it's one of those sets where it's kind of like how you were saying earlier. I'm not getting a ton of, like, I wouldn't get too much more than maybe a case, maybe two at the most. Kind of saving for Team Rocket personally is where I would like to. Well, in theory, I'd like to put more money into it if I can even get any product. That's going to be, the dilemma. So even if I have money saved, does it really matter? I don't know. But so I went a little lighter on Journey Together. I did have an opportunity to get more than that, but at least grateful just to get one case, something secured for it. But that brings me into you're segueing perfectly into my next question. So, speaking of the Journey Together, how do you feel about that set from an investment standpoint, coming off of Prismatic? Probably looked at Prismatic's up here. Journey Together, it's not going to be Prismatic. It's going to come down. It's got to be a little bit of a downer set. Some people don't like it. Like I said, it's more upper mid for me. There's some great looking cards in it. I like the Articuno. I like the Whale Lord card a lot, art wise. But the other trainers in it just don't do much for me. But what's your thoughts on it from either collecting or investing perspective?
Well, this is where we need to not get caught up in Groundhog Day, because you got to remember back, and I remember back when Battle Styles was released. Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze, then Vivid Voltage, and then we must have had a holiday set, did we, thrown in the mix? Maybe Shining Fates between the two of them, and then Battle Styles is the next booster box set come out. And Shining Fates was crazy too. Like, obviously, it's not as good a set as Prismatic Evolutions, but there was just that massive pump for Pokemon, and it was not only was there huge or massive increases in demand, but there was also supply issues because every industry in the world was having supply issues at that time.
Yeah.
Mid to late 2020, and then when Battle Styles come out, when was it? Early 2021. Like, that was inflated too, and everyone looked at it. And you look at the set, and you go, okay, there's a sleeping Tyranitar, there's new game mechanics which will be good for players inside it with single and rapid strike. But same thing, like, it was really, really hard to get at pre-launch or pre-order, and you had to pay like to get some retail price, like around that 150 US mark, and you still look at it now and you go, well, if you'd done that, that wasn't the greatest investment, was it? Because you still haven't made any money off it. And I think that's maybe where, I'm not saying the market's cooling down, because we've got some stellar sets on the way, most likely with Team Rocket, and then we've got 30th anniversary around the corner, which will have some extra, oomph, and maybe some player base come back into it, and buyer money come back into the hobby. But, we don't want to get caught out paying exorbitant prices for sets just for the sake of it. And don't get me wrong, like, Pokemon is not only the world's biggest IP, like, they are masters of, advertising and creating this FOMO essentially. And, they did it with Battle Styles, and then it dropped and dropped and dropped and reprinted and reprinted. And, it's still on the Pokemon Center website now as a booster box for sale. And who knows? I'm not saying Journey Together is going to be, Battle Styles 2.0, but we just need to not get caught out paying exorbitant prices. Like, I set myself some very strict standards with investing, because that's where you've got to take the emotion out of it. Like, if I can't buy something at or below retail price, I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
That's as simple as that. Like, that's a silly investment. If a company's share is valued at $90 and it's really hard to get hold of, which it doesn't work like that, but say it did, and you just paid 120 just for the sake of it because you thought it was going to go up, like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, that's just being stupid with your money. So collection wise, I'm loving I can't wait to get Journey Together in the collection. But in terms of investing, like, if you can't get it at or below, like, I'm seeing them online for 400 Australian dollars on eBay. Like, that's like 300 US. Like, don't do it. If you if you're listening and you're listening to advice, don't do it. There'll be more printed.
I'm with you. Same thing. Like, if I'm not getting it at MSRP, Well, specifically for Journey Together, then which I already got some, but thankfully. But like, if I didn't, well, then I missed out,
Yeah,
and I'll wait.
buy
And if
battle,
I don't get it, I don't get it. Like, for,
buy
but
battle styles instead.
yeah, right. I mean, there's a lot of other great sets still available too.
You don't have to buy it just because it's the latest set out. Like yeah. If you
it's
can't get it at retail below, just
it's the FOMO trap that everyone's falling into. It's a very cyclical thing that just keeps coming around, the newest thing. So, but yeah, the set, I think the set's fine. It's just not pay, like you said, pay 250 $300 a box out the gate good. So that's where, yeah, it's MSRP or miss out. Maybe a little bit above MSRP, I could see an argument for, depending on what it is. Like, I would love to get a Pokemon Center ETB, at least one. You know,
oh yeah.
I wasn't able to get one, so I'm not going to be able to get that at MSRP now. So where do I draw the line for wanting to pick up one of those? That's another thing that I have to think about. At least one, for the sealed collection. We'll see, but yeah, you got to be careful your approach. Like, I tend to. I mean, it sounds like we're kind of aligning on the sealed approach. I tend to take the safer plays when it comes to. I mean, that's why I said I lean more sealed with my. Everything I have is more sealed because it's safer. I'm not investing in the slabs. I'm not flipping and grading the slabs. The singles market is too volatile for me. So similar approach of I'll take the safer plays, and I'm also on a longer time frame. I know similar to you, but I'm sure most of the people watching, the reality of it is they're probably not on a 5 to 10 to 15 year time frame with most of their stuff, and they'll be in and out of it sooner. So that's where you definitely would probably want to make sure you're really focusing on your price points. But if you get something like you said at Battle Styles, if you got that Battle Styles back at MSRP, at release, but you're on a 5 to 10 year window, while you may be hurting now, in 5 to 10 years, you, in theory, should be doing okay. So that's kind of the same logic that I'm applying to Journey Together to a certain extent. They're not the same, but kind of where I'm going with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. Agree.
Let's see. Let's talk about something that I feel like it's kind of controversial, extremely controversial, obviously. But I wanted to talk about it's kind of twofold. Talk about the scalping in general, and then the people, commenters can say, there's a very thin line between scalping and investing, right? And that we saw it with PokeRev addressed it in one of his videos recently, saying he didn't directly say it, but he kind of said Pokemon investors are the new problem. Like, this is their. He said it in a way, I don't know if you saw that video. He kind of was like, well, this is kind of what's happening. Everyone's hoarding these boxes, and that's where all your product is. So I'd love to get your perspective on, are we the problem as investors? And where do you draw the line between what is scalping and what is investing?
Yeah, well, I think it's a pretty clear line in the sand for me. People can disagree if they want to disagree, but I've certainly got my position on it, and my position is pretty simple. If you're going in somewhere and purchasing something with no intention to open it and literally put it online the next day or that afternoon to try and make quick money off it, that is literally the definition of scalping. You're buying someone else's product and you're trying to make money off it straight away. Like, end of story. And you're probably the same. If you ever do videos on it addressing or like doing an opinion video, you're always going to get, 90% of people probably agree with me because like it's my audience, but you're always going to get that 10% that don't agree. And that one thing you realize pretty quickly in life, particularly when you get into your 30s, is you're not going to please everyone. If you change your view or change your opinion, all you're going to be doing is pleasing different people and upsetting other people. So you might as well stick to your guns and stick to your position. See, I have this idea that everyone opened everything that came out straight away. There's no, like, other than the singles, there's no sealed or opening nostalgia. Like, that's disappeared. It's gone. So, and I'm not saying we're heroes because we're keeping stuff sealed. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying everything was open. Let's hypothetically, every single product was open because that's what people say should happen. You couldn't scalp it, and it should all be open straight away, so you can enjoy the cards, whether you're 8 years old or whether you're 60 years old. But like I was saying, that completely takes away the ability to ever have that ability to open them in the future and enjoy some level of your past and relive that nostalgia. And look, there's almost like there's got to be a bit of a premium on that. We all know how hard it is to keep things sealed. You know, you might have a couple of beers, one night, and then you're just like, oh man, that Cosmic Eclipse box is looking juicy. But if you've got the willpower to put something away, and maybe someone put a case of Cosmic Eclipse boxes away, and then they want to sell one because they want to go on maybe they want to sell 2 boxes because they want to take the family on an overseas holiday. Like, someone, rightly so, probably needs to pay a premium to have that experience of opening a set that's 6 years old. Like, you shouldn't be expected just to pay the first upfront retail price of $100 to buy those boxes anymore, because A, the cards are probably worth more inside it, and then B, there's little to no sealed product left, and then C, you are paying a bit of a premium to relive that old school nostalgia. And not only that, most people, you got to remember that most people monetize it. Most people that are buying these boxes are monetizing in some way, shape, or form. Like, they're buying it for their stream, they're selling it on whatnot, they're doing rip and ship. Maybe they're just on YouTube, and people have bought into the packs that they're buying, and maybe they're paying $25 per Cosmic Eclipse pack, or $20 per Cosmic Eclipse pack, and the people that's buying that box is probably getting their money back anyway. So I don't think we should even, like, I'll try not to entertain it or get into it. Like, I don't think we should point fingers around who's the problem and, this person's the problem, they're the problem. If anything, when things are this popular, it's healthy because, like, speaking from my industry, the car industry, it was almost healthy when there was so much demand for cars that we couldn't keep up with the supply. Like, it was great for the business, and now we're almost, the pendulum's nearly swung back the other way, where we're starting to get oversupplied and it's difficult again. Like, it's really challenging. I think I would rather it this way than the other way, where there's just a plethora of products and everything's worth nothing. I don't know. Like, it's what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, scalping, I think we align 100%. It is just funny when you see people saying, like, oh, well, you investors are just long-term scalpers. But yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. Like, especially when it's, the glaring, I'm going in just to buy all this out, and now it's here, come take it now at 3 times the price, and it's available immediately. I don't consider that investing. At all. That's, that is what they're taking advantage of the situation, because we're in a high demand, extreme bull market right now. And I'm not condoning it, but, like, people need to make money. I get it. And it brings, when there's this amount of money and this amount of attention brought into anything, it really just brings out the worst in people. And you got to understand, there's people coming in who don't even know anything about Pokemon cards, right? They just know, oh, I go in and buy them and I flip them. So yeah, the scalping thing is a problem. And when it comes to the investing, at least from my perspective of being attributing to the, if you want to call it, the problem of why we don't have, boxes readily available, I don't think it's the average investor by any means. Your average investor, from polls I've ran, from other Reddits, Discords, the average investor has a few boxes,
100%.
Not Rudy pallets, not cases and cases and cases. And, like, when I have cases, like, yeah, I have some cases, like, once again, I'm not saying I'm not big, I'm not little, I'm more than your average, I would call it. Obviously a little more dedicated than your average, for sure. But, I don't think pulling some cases off of the market and holding on to them, if the market is that fragile, that it ruins the market from some people doing that, then the market wasn't healthy. And I think Pokemon has to address that. I think the product should be, using Prismatic. I think it should be available and cheap enough. Maybe before this boom, you saw a lot of Scarlet and Violet era boxes in the 80s, high 70 US dollar range. Before this, not that long ago, it really wasn't that long ago. Those boxes were too cheap. They shouldn't have been that cheap. Maybe we should have been somewhere in the middle. But we swung so far. I don't think that it's the investor to blame. But obviously, being here as an investor, I feel like it might be easy for me to say that, and I do sympathize with the common person, and I get why they would say that. We're here. We have our boxes on display. We have cards on display, and we're the easy target, I feel. But I don't think that's the main issue with what's going on. And I'm not really one to point fingers and throw blame to any specific person either. But we're just in I think it's it's the perfect storm of, there's a lot more social media, like you said. There's more content creators than ever. There's more eyeballs on everything. Rip and shipping is at an all-time high. There's just more demand, and the Pokemon company's not meeting it. And everyone wants to do the Spider-Man meme of they're all blaming each other. Everyone's pointing fingers, right? And I think that there's a lot the Pokemon company could do to make things better. And I think that it mostly falls on them. I have heard some stuff. I don't know how it works on the Australian side with the distribution, but I have heard that I don't know how the contracts work because I don't have distribution access here. But I do know that the distributors here are withholding. They sell whatever their initial thing is out, and they're contracted to sell it at a certain price. But if they hold the rest back, second wave, third wave, whatever it is, they can sell that at whatever price they see fit. So essentially, that's contributing to the prices being higher as well. The distributors are wanting to make extra money on top, right? So I don't know, does Pokemon need to rework their contracts with the distributors? There's a lot of things there. I tend to say that it's a Pokemon company issue before blaming a consumer of the product, right? So that's kind of my take on it.
There needs to be maybe some regulation in that space, really.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I'm not sure if that's the case in Australia. I can certainly speak from the industry I'm in. Yeah, we've got some very strict regulations around motor car prices, and like wholesalers from the Australian brands to the dealerships, which is it's the same supply chain as everything filters down from the top, doesn't it? From production to warehouses to distributors or wholesalers to stores. It's the same with new Toyotas, but there's some very strict regulations around wholesale pricing and retail pricing, and us, both the wholesalers, which is Toyota Australia, and the dealerships, which is us, not being able to price gouge essentially. So it stops that.
Yeah,
stops that. Creates wait times in periods of high demand, but. And look, I don't think that would even be too bad. Like if there was some, look, the secondary market's the secondary market. People can do what they want on there. If you want something straight away, you might have to pay for it, but you might have to pay a little bit more for it. But if there was maybe some regulations around that, so like you said, no price hiking from the wholesalers, but then like you can't. The other side of the coin is you can't have your cake and eat it too, can you? Like you were saying before about boxes being $79. Like there could be stores, both online stores and brick and mortar stores, that were lucky to break even on that stock. And now, like we're getting the pitchforks out because they've finally got a product they can make some money off. Like it swings and roundabouts. You can't have your cake and eat it too, can you? You just got to enjoy the ride. Like people need to stop getting so uptight about it. Essentially, and enjoy the ride. Draw your own line in the sand. Like I have, I won't buy a product if it's don't buy Journey Together at $300.
Yeah,
just buy Battle Styles for half that price.
Yeah, no, it's been absolutely crazy. It has been kind of nice. It does feel like it's calmed down, but for me, at least a little, just off of the prismatic hype. Just a little, enough to breathe for a moment. But also, it does feel like Pokemon, especially if you're plugged into the Japanese side. If you're pairing, you got your releases, the pace in which they're pumping this stuff out. English, Japanese. It's just like every month we got new sets, and it's just like unrelenting. Um, so
Well, since, and someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but since I've been in the hobby, I can't remember back-to-back years in English where we've had 6 sets in a row. And I think we had that 2023 and 2024, we had 6 sets and 6 sets. That's a combination of holiday sets and main sets, so booster box sets. Prior to that, it's literally on the dot. It was like 6 sets, 5 sets, 6 sets, 5 sets, 6 sets, 5 sets. So to go 6 and 6, same thing is just like you said, they just ran, yeah, let alone in collecting Japanese as well. I think people are predominantly one or the other though.
yeah, it seems like, well, I don't know. I feel like now though, we're seeing the rise. We saw it during COVID too. Japanese became when English is too expensive and not available, the next language comes up. We saw it with Japanese, people going to Korean, whatever is available and affordable, move into the next thing. Um, but, something that I still find interesting of the same, they're the same company, the Pokemon company on the Japanese side, they can print, the 151 Japanese box from over $200 a box, and they could get that down. And that was at one point, 40 mid to lower 40s US dollars for that, and it's come up obviously, but it's taken a long time. So they are able to, at least on the Japanese side, print to demand. And that was when that came out, that wasn't just the Japanese market consuming that either. That's the whole world was consuming the Japanese 151 because it was the only thing released at the time. But
Yeah,
so they do have the capabilities, but like you said earlier, they know what they're doing, right? They're the masterminds of scarcity and everything going on. They're the ones making the money. So, um,
weird.
yeah, and that recent announcement that they made about them going to print more prismatic and stuff, that was nice and all, but it's like, how much are they going to actually be able to ramp up the printing capabilities? Because that's not an overnight thing. You can't just you know poof have a new warehouse and poof have the printers and they're just ready. That costs a lot of money to invest in. First you got to have the land. It's a whole thing. So I don't know how long, or if that was even, it kind of makes me doubt if that was even anything to that, if it was just like, hey, we're gonna work on it, guys, calm down, kind of thing.
Well, and again, I know I keep relating to the car industry, but if you've got the warehouse there, so Millennium Print Group, which the Pokemon Company International purchased to increase printing during COVID. i- Unless you build more printers or increase the size of the warehouse, it's pretty basic equation. You're not going to be able to print more cards. However, and this is a small theory I have, is that we're still getting increases year on year. So last year there was more cards printed than 23, and 23 there was more cards printed than 22. And this was like during COVID times, So they're still printing more cards. So unless you're increasing the amount of printers, the only way to increase the cards being printed is to decrease the amount of time that it takes to print them off the same, production line. And we talked about trying to do the same things in COVID with cars. Like, there's massive demand for Toyota hybrids, particularly like the RAV4, which was, the number one selling car in America last year. And it was also the number one or number two selling car in Australia. But long story short, they said, well, we don't have enough time. It's going to take us like 9 months to probably build another factory or increase factory size so we can produce more of these things. So the only thing we can do is reduce the time it takes to build them so we can essentially build more in a 1 month period or a 2 month period. And maybe, and again, this is just theory, maybe that's why we're seeing a little bit of a reduction in print quality for Scarlet and Violet, particularly in comparison to Sword and Shield, because maybe they haven't increased printing, but they're just decreasing tack times and making sure they print these cards quicker. Don't know. They keep a lot of those cards very close to their chest, which is frustrating.
Yeah, no, that would make sense from a business standpoint too, because you also don't want to overspend. You finally get those new printers, you expand the facility, and then the demand isn't quite there, and then you don't need those printers. So I mean, no, who knows about Pokemon at this point? But yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, and the print quality has been pretty sus for the most part. I mean, obviously they have good runs here and there, it feels like, but that's definitely something. I don't know. You think that's another Japanese to English alignment that you wish that Japanese print quality is just so nice. You'd think we could find some sort of middle ground or a little bit closer, but you're probably right. The car comparison is probably very apt. They're just trying to meet demand, and they don't want to overextend themselves and get themselves into a corner. Potentially.
Just a theory, but yeah, if you were printing $1 million cards every 30 minutes, but then you can print 1.1 million cards every 30 minutes. Well, every 24-hour period, you're going to be printing a whole heap more cards and be able to hopefully try and meet demand without increasing your production size or factory size. That information's there's speculative guesses, but maybe that has something to do with the print quality.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if anyone ever gets like an actual interview with somebody at the Pokemon company or able to get inside that printing facility. I know it's in North Carolina, but probably locked up pretty good.
It's like the pyramids. Can't get inside there.
Yeah, right. Well, we're getting kind of long on the conversation. We're approaching an hour, so I figured probably about time to wrap it up. Appreciate you for coming on. Huge thanks. And if you have any closing thoughts or any questions, anything you want to shout out, feel free. You have the table's yours.
Oh, I was just probably going to end with stay the course. Enjoy the market waves. If it was all just one direction, it'd be pretty boring, wouldn't it? So stay the course and don't let too many negative comments get you down if you're a Pokemon card investor.
Yeah.
I did want to say on your side, there are some very, very big fish in this game. A lot of people that like to keep private about it maybe don't have YouTube channels that are spending a lot of money on Pokemon cards, but you're right, the average investor is not. I don't think they're getting that much. Like they might get 1 or 2 boxes, and then sometimes, like I said, they could have a couple of beers one night and it gets the better of them, and whether it's 6 months after they bought them with all good intentions to keep them sealed, end up opening them. Like the average investor isn't buying that much product, I don't think. So stay the course is my final message to everyone.
Perfect. Agreed. I think that's a great way to end it. So yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. And remember, it was never a phase.
Hey guys.